The Constitution of India. Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hi, my dear snappy children. Welcome back. How are you all? Hope everyone is good and healthy. So, my dear children, do watch all the videos sent to you. Don't hesitate in watching the videos and listening to the voice messages. It's a high time to concentrate on your studies. So, make sure to listen to videos, informative and academics, and upgrade and update your knowledge. Got it? I hope you all will follow these instructions. Yes. So, shall we move on to our class? Okay. So, let's begin our today's session with a beautiful quote. Mercy is not tolerance. Mercy is forgiveness with the hope of change. I repeat, mercy is not tolerance. Mercy is forgiveness with the hope of change. So, let's listen to a story which tells the world that divine quality of mercy is better than justice. Now, let us listen to a play by William Shakespeare. Justice is defined as truth in action. Children, have you heard about William Shakespeare? Yes. William Shakespeare was an English poet, playwright, and actor, widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and as the world's preeminent dramatist. He is often called the Bard of Avon. His work consists of 37 plays, 154 sonnets, 2 narrative poems, and a few other verses, the authorship of some of which is uncertain. His plays have been translated into every major living language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright. Written sometime between 1596 and 1598, The Merchant of Venice is classified as an early Shakespearean comedy. The Merchant of Venice is a play written by William Shakespeare, in which a merchant in Venice named Antonio, who failed to pay back a large amount of loan provided by a Jewish moneylender, Shylock. So let's go through the play. The main characters in the play are Shylock, a greedy moneylender. Next is Antonio, a young and honest merchant. Bassanio, bosom friend of Antonio. Portia, lover of Bassanio and only heiress of a large estate. Next is Nerissa, friend of Portia, and Bellerio, a lawyer and relative of Portia. In this play, we have 4 scenes. Antonio was a young and honest merchant in the town of Venice. He was the kindest man ever lived. He always came to the help of the people in trouble. He was greatly loved by all his fellow citizens. Antonio had a bosom friend, Bassanio. He was a noble Venetian. He was not very rich. He had lived a luxurious life and squandered all the little money he had. Whenever he wanted money, Antonio helped him. It seemed they had but one heart and one purse between them. So, in the first scene, they have introduced Antonio, a young merchant, an honest merchant. He always came to the help of the people in trouble. So, if the people were in trouble, who would help them? Yes, Antonio. He was greatly loved by all his fellow citizens. Antonio had a bosom friend. Bosom friend means close friend. Bosom, the word we have already learnt in the previous lesson, a day in the country. That is Terendy's bosom friend, isn't it? So here, Antonio's bosom friend was Bassanio. He was not very rich. Who was not very rich? Yes, Bassanio. He was a noble Venetian. What about Venetian? Yes, a person of Venice. He was not very rich. He had lived a luxurious life. He had lived. Once he was a rich person. Who? Bassanio. But he squandered all the little money. Squandered means spent or misuse. So Bassanio misused all the money and now he became poor. Whenever he wanted money, Antonio helped him. So whenever Bassanio wanted money, who helped him? Antonio. It seemed that they had but one heart and one purse between them. So it shows the close relationship between Antonio and Bassanio. Bassanio loved a girl named Portia, a very wealthy lady in Belmont. Her father died some time ago and she was only heiress to a large estate. Portia too loved Bassanio. Now he thought of improving his fortune by marrying her. One day, Bassanio came to Antonio and told him about his love for Portia and that he must go very soon to Belmont as a suitor to Portia. But he did not have any money even to dress himself suitably as the lover of so rich an heiress. So he asked Antonio to help him. Bassanio wanted his friend to lend him 3,000 ducats. So, Bassanio loved a girl named Portia. Another character in the play, Portia, a very wealthy lady in Belmont. So, where did she live? Yes, Portia lived in Belmont. Her father died some time ago and she was only heiress of a large estate. So, whose father died? Yes, Portia's father died and she was only heiress. What is the heiress? Avagashini. Okay, Sottinde Avagashini. Heir and heiress, H-E-I-R, that is a male, that is Avagashi. H-E-I-R-E-S-S, heiress, that is Avagashini. Now he thought of improving his fortune by marrying her. So now Bassanio thought of marrying her and improving his fortune. Fortune means his future. One day, Bassanio came to Antonio and told him about his love for Portia and that he must go very soon to Belmont as a suitor to Portia. So one day, Bassanio came to meet Antonio and he discussed with Antonio about his love. And Bassanio wanted to go to Belmont. For what? As a suitor to Portia. Suitor means a person who matches her. But he did not have any money even to dress himself suitably as a lover of so rich an heiress. But what happened to Bassanio? So he doesn't have money to buy a rich dress. So he asked Antonio to give him 3,000 ducats. Ducats means gold coin in European countries. So how much he asked? Yes, he asked for 3,000 ducats. For what purpose? He wanted to buy a good dress and he wanted to reach Belmont. But it so happened that Antonio had spent all his money on his ships and so had no money with him. But he expected some of the ships to come home soon laden with merchandise. Hence, he decided to borrow the amount from Shylock, who was a money lender. So, what happened to Antonio? Yes, Antonio was a rich merchant But at that time, he doesn't have money with him because he spent all his money on ships. That means for his business. He spent money for his business. But he expected some of the ships to come soon laden, Laden, laden. Laden means heavily loaded, ചരക്ക് കയറ്റിയ, with the merchandise. Merchandise means goods, things. So he expected some of the ships would reach with heavy loaded things. Hence, he decided to borrow the amount from Shylock. So, on that time, he needed to help his friend Bassanio. So, he decided to borrow money from the money lender. Who was the money lender? Yes, the greedy money lender, Shylock. Shylock had become very rich. Shylock had become very rich by lending money at a very high interest to merchants. He was a hard-hearted man and was very severe with his customers. So, he was much disliked by all good men. Antonio also disliked Shylock for being ambitious and greedy for money. He used to lend money to the needy people without taking any interest. Therefore, there was a great enmity between the greedy Shylock and Antonio. Now play the next character, Shylock. Shylock had become very rich by lending money. So, how did he become rich? Yes, by lending money to others at a very high interest. Interest means palisha. Interest to the merchants. He was a hard-hearted man. Who was a hard-hearted man? Yes, Shylock. And was very severe with his customers. So he was much disliked by all good men. So no one liked Shylock because of his behavior. Antonio also disliked Shylock for being so ambitious and greedy for money. He used to lend money to needy people without any interest, taking any interest. Antonio also used to give money for the merchants, but he won't take any interest from them. Therefore, there was a great enmity between whom? Yes, Shylock and Antonio. Antonio and Bassanio went to Shylock. Antonio asked the Jew to lend him 3,000 ducats at any interest. He would pay it back as soon as his ships returned from the sea. Shylock thought deeply. He took this as a golden opportunity to take revenge on the Venetian who had insulted him many times. So now, Bassanio and Antonio came to meet Shylock. For what purpose? Yes, to borrow some money from him. So Antonio asked the Jew means the Jewish people, Judaism religion, Jodhammar. He would pay it back as soon as his ships returned from the sea. So Antonio asked for 3,000 ducats from Shylock, and he said that he would repay the money when his ships returned. Shylock thought deeply. So it was a golden opportunity for Shylock to take a revenge. What do you mean revenge? Yes, paga. On the Venetian. Who was the Venetian here? Yes, Antonio, who had insulted him many times. Yes, I will lend you the money and I will take no interest, said the greedy money lender. So, Shylock thought for a while and it was his golden opportunity to take revenge on Antonio, and he agreed that he will give money 3,000 ducats for Antonio without any interest. Here interest means palisha. Antonio was surprised at this kind offer. Shylock still pretended to be generous. He again said that he would lend him the 3,000 ducats and take no interest for his money if repaid in time. His only condition was that Antonio should go with him to a lawyer and sign a bond in Marysport stating that if he did not repay the money in time, he would forfeit a pound of flesh to be cut off from any part of his body. So here is the trick of Shylock. Antonio was surprised for the offer. Why? Because everyone knows that he was a greedy money lender. Shylock was a greedy money lender, and Shylock still pretended to be generous. Pretend means act. He was just acting. So he said that he had a condition that Antonio should go with him in a lawyer and sign in a bond that if he did not repay the money in time, he would forfeit a pound of flesh to be cut off from any part of his body. That is, if Antonio did not pay back the money on time, what would happen? Yes, Yes, a pound of flesh will be taken from whose body? Yes, Antonio's body. No, cried Bassanio. You shall run no such risk for me. So by hearing that, Bassanio said, you should not do that. But Antonio insisted that he would sign it, for he was sure that his ships would return with money before the day of payment. Antonio signed the bond and got the money, which he handed over to Bassanio, who immediately set off to Belmont with a splendid train to possess Portia as his partner of life. But Antonio insisted. Antonio made sure that, and he signed in the bond because Antonio was sure that his ships would reach. So Antonio signed in the bond and handed over the money to whom? Yes, Bassanio. So after signing in the bond, Shylock given 3,000 ducats to Antonio, and Antonio handed over the money to Bassanio. And Bassanio immediately set off. What do you mean set off? Begin a journey. Where did he start a journey? Yes, to Belmont. For what? Yes, for meeting his lover. With a splendid train to possess. Possess means സ്വന്തമാക്കുക. Possess Portia as his partner of life. When Bassanio arrived in Belmont, Portia was very much worried whether he might be successful in the challenge raised by her father before his death. In order to save his daughter from fortune hunters, he had arranged 3 caskets, gold, silver, and lead, for her suitors to try. The person who chose the right casket in which her picture was deposited could win her. Bassanio did not choose either the gold or the silver casket. He said that things that glittered outside were often ugly inside. Bassanio arrived in Belmont, but Portia was worried very much. Why? Because there was a challenge for the persons who came to meet Portia as her suitor. For his death, he arranged 3 caskets. Caskets means small box. One is gold, one is silver, and one is lead. In one of the box, they kept Portia's picture. So who chose the box in which Portia's picture was there, they would marry her. But Bassanio did not choose either the gold or the silver. He chose the correct box. And he said that things that glittered outside were often ugly inside. That is, all the glitters were not gold. So he then chose the leaden casket on which it was written, whoever chooses me must risk all that he has. It was a moment of joy for everyone because there was a lovely picture of Portia in it. So who chose the correct one? Yes, Bassanio chose the correct box. Thus Bassanio proved successful in his suit and Portia consented to marry him. Before the marriage, Bassanio confessed to Portia that he was not very rich. His high birth and noble ancestry was all that he could be proud of. Now when her return came, Portia prettily said that she was an unschooled girl. She loved him for his good qualities. She had enough riches. I give them to you with this ring. Saying, so she presented a ring to Bassanio. So before the marriage, Bassanio confessed. Confessed means revealed or opened up to Portia that he said that he was not rich. His high birth and noble ancestry was all he could proud of. So Bassanio opened up and he told to Portia that he was not a rich man. Now when her turn came, Portia prettily said that she was an unschooled girl. Unschooled means not educated, but she had a lot of money with her. And she presented a ring to Bassanio. Then a messenger arrived there. He was sent by Antonio. He had brought a letter from Antonio containing a sad news. When Bassanio read the letter, Portia found his face turn pale. She inquired what the sad news was. So, a messenger came to Belmont, sent by Antonio, and that was a sad news in that letter. By reading the letter, Bassanio's face became pale and Portia inquired about that. He replied, "Oh, sweet Portia, here are a few of the most unpleasant words that have ever been written." He then told all about Antonio and about his strange bond with Shylock to help him. Then he explained all the things to Portia about the bond between Shylock and Antonio. Bassanio read Antonio's letter. Sweet Bassanio, my ships are all lost. My bond to the Jew is forfeited. In paying it, I shall lose my life. I wish to see you at my death, but it's your pleasure. So, what was in the letter? Yes, sweet Bassanio, my ships are lost. Whose ships were lost? Yes, Antonio's. My bond to the Jew is forfeited. Forfeited means loss. In paying it, I shall lose my life. So, his ships didn't return back. So, he didn't get the money to repay the loan. So, what would happen? Yes, Antonio had to lose his life. I wish to see you at my death, but it is your pleasure. Oh, my dear love, said Portia, be quick. You shall have gold to pay the money 20 times over. Before this kind friend, Antonio shall lose a hair by my Bassanio fault. Portia then said she would be married to Bassanio before he set out in order to give him a legal right to the money. So, Portia said that, don't worry, Bassanio, my dear Bassanio, I will give the money, I will give the gold, and you can repay the amount to Shylock. The day of the payment being past, the cruel moneylender would not accept the money which Bassanio offered him. He insisted upon having a pound of Antonio's flesh. A day was fixed to try this strange case before the Duke of Venice, and Bassanio awaited in the dreadful suspense the result of the trial. The day of the payment being past. So, on time, they couldn't repay the money. So, the cruel moneylender, who was a cruel moneylender? Yes, Shylock. So, Shylock would not accept the money which Bassanio offered him. He insisted upon having a pound of Antonio's flesh. So, what did he need now? He needed a pound of flesh from Antonio's body. A day was fixed to try this strange case before the Duke of Venice, and Bassanio awaited in dreadful suspense the result of trial. Trial means case. Let's move on to the next scene. The day of the trial arrived. Antonio did not ask for mercy because he knew well that Shylock was unlikely to grant him any mercy. In a way, he was willing to accept punishment. The day of the trial arrived. Antonio did not ask for mercy. Why Antonio did not ask for mercy? Because he knew about the character and greediness of Shylock for money. Shylock was unlikely to grant him any mercy. In a way, he was willing to accept punishment. At the court, the Duke himself pleaded with Shylock to be merciful. So, in the court, even the Duke asked Shylock to show mercy to Antonio. He blandly refused. Bassanio offered a Jew twice the sum owed by Antonio. Bassanio offered Shylock twice the amount. How many gold coins already Shylock given to Antonio? Yes, 3,000. Now Bassanio, the friend of Antonio, was ready to pay 6,000 gold coins to Shylock. But he replied that he wanted justice, and so he would ask for his pound of flesh even if he was offered 6,000 times the amount. But Shylock was not willing to accept the money. He wanted justice, he said. But actually, he was taking revenge on Antonio. When the Duke asked Shylock how he could hope for mercy from God if he himself showed no mercy to his fellow beings, Shylock replied that he wants no mercy if God grants him justice. So saying, he began to sharpen the long knife. So he was not at all going to show any mercy to Antonio. By saying that, he started to sharpening his knife. For what? Yes, for taking the pound of flesh from Antonio's body. Portia, who had decided to come to Venice and to speak in Antonio's defense, reached there on the day of the trial with her friend Nerissa. They disguised themselves. Disguise means change in appearance. Vesham Marga. Portia appeared in a lawyer's gown and Nerissa followed her as clerk. So how did they come to the court? Yes, Portia came as a lawyer and Nerissa, her friend, came as a clerk. The case was just going to be heard before the Duke. Portia entered the High Court of Justice and presented a letter from Valerio. Who was Valerio? Yes, a lawyer and a relative of Portia. In that letter, the learned counselor had written that the bearer of the letter, Balthazar, so she changed her appearance. she came as Balthazar, could be permitted to plead for Antonio as he was sick and unable to come by himself. So, Bellerio wrote a letter to the High Court as he was sick, he could not able to come to the court. So, instead of Bellerio, he was sending Balthazar, that is Portia, to plead for Antonio. Plead here means vadikkuka. The Duke granted this, wondering at the youthful appearance of the stranger who was well disguised in her counselor's robes and large wig. And now began the important trial. Portia looked around and saw the merciless moneylender. Who was the merciless moneylender? Yes, Shylock. She saw Bassanio too, but he knew her not in her disguise. But Bassanio did not know anything about Portia in disguise. She read the bond and turned towards Shylock and told him that he had the right to his pound of flesh. Hearing it, Shylock felt happy. She then spoke eloquently of the noble quality of mercy. What do you mean eloquently? Eloquently means fluently. She then spoke fluently of the noble quality of mercy. It would have softened the hearts of all except that of Shylock. So, Portia, now Balthazar, she started to talk about mercy. Everyone's heart melted except Shylock's. She said that mercy dropped as a gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. Mercy was a double blessing. It blessed him that gave and him that received it. Great kings have always shown mercy. It was an attribute of God Himself. So, Portia tried to melt the heart of Shylock by saying the greatness of mercy. But Shylock did not change his mind. She said it was an attribute of God Himself. So, Balthazar, that is Portia, she said that showing kindness to others is a boon. Boon means blessing given to us by God. She asked Shylock to remember that as we all prayed for mercy from God, we were bound to be merciful to our fellow beings. But Shylock insisted on getting the penalty stated in the bond. But Shylock did not change his mind. He said he wanted justice. But actually, he wanted to take revenge upon Antonio. Is he not able to pay the money? Asked the young lawyer Balthazar. So, my dear children, what do you think? Will Shylock show mercy towards Antonio? Let's see in the next class. So, go through the scenes. Okay. So, that's all for today. We will meet in the next class. Until then, it's bye from your in the teacher. Thank you.